Hello, everyone. Welcome to Full-on, your Fulham-centric football podcast. I'm your host, Ash Woolford. Joining me this week for our Man United preview is four of the guys. Let's go through and say hello. Kyle, how you doing, buddy?
Not too bad, thank you, Ash. Hope you're well. Looking forward to the weekend. Be a good game. Nervous, but be a good game.
We'll see. AJ, how you doing, mate?
Keeping on, buddy. Keeping on.
Yeah, mate. And Matt, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. How's you?
Yeah, not too bad. We're obviously here to discuss the United game on Sunday, first home game of the season at home. You know, we still haven't got anything to talk about transfer-wise with Fulham, so there's nothing really new being picked up by us there. So let's get in and talk about the game. AJ, I ask you this question every week, man. I'm going to ask you it still because you are usually pretty level-headed with it. Looking at the game last week against Brighton, going into this game against Man United, are we expecting any changes to the starting 11? What are you expecting squad-wise going into this one?
I predict Adama might start as well as Muniz might start, especially seeing as it now looks like Muniz is going to be staying, mostly because they've got a little bit more pace on the upstep to counter-attack Manchester United. Outside of that, I don't expect many wholesale changes. However, I will say there is a slim possibility that Marco decides to go for a back three and match Manchester United system, just because of the fact that we are out and out left back at the moment, and he might think that a back three of Bassi, Diop, and Anderson might be a little bit more substantial versus the likes of Mbabu and Mbeumo even and Cunha.
Did we play five at the back against them last year at home? Do you remember?
I'm not. I don't recall.
No, I don't think we did.
No.
Was it Liverpool we played five at the back against?
Yeah. And then we changed it, didn't we?
Which I think sort of gave us really good shape anyway, naturally going forward. So I don't think it's a mad idea to see us playing with five at the back, as you say, especially considering Cunha and Mbabu, two players that obviously we know their qualities from playing at Wolves, at Brentford, and they're going to want to prove something after a bit of a shaky start from United last weekend. Kyle, going into this one, we still don't fully know what to expect from Man United, do we? Like, we know that they've had a rough couple of years, but I think their transfer window this summer has been pretty decent. I think they still need a goalkeeper, but what are you expecting from United this weekend?
You said you hit the nail on the head. They've been poor for the last 2 years, but pre-season, I've been watching them pre-season, and they're looking very, like I said, they've done some good business with the transfers, but they're going to be a different team this year, and we'll be lucky to get a good result on Sunday. Sorry, but Cunha is very, very lively. We'll have to keep him quiet, and same with Brian Mbeumo. He is ex-Brentford, so we don't want him scoring against us, do we?
Well, we don't want him scoring against us because we just don't want Man United scoring. Matt, going into this one, we still don't really know where we lie, especially at left back. We don't know we're going to see. I think this might be the thing that might actually might prove if we're going to play five at the back or not. The fact that we still don't know who's fit, who could potentially play at that left back position. We'll probably find out during Marco's press conference tomorrow. But overall, I was quite happy with how we played last week with Bassi at left back. It wouldn't be the end of the world if he does have to play this weekend. But is it a bit of a worry that we are in a position where, we're this far into a transfer window and we don't have anyone who can play left back who's naturally a left back?
Yes and no. I think with having Barsi and having Cuenca, who both have played left back previously, we've got cover there. It's just working out the best way to set the lineup up, because it's very easy for a natural centre back who's playing left back to just pull in. It's working that overlap and switching in between them. But with the way that they played last week, I'm happy with them staying as that. It would be nice to have a natural left back with Robinson out being injured. Cess isn't a defender. He's more of an attacking player. So it's working the balance between having two centre backs who have played left back and making it work, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's look at us here. Let's concentrate on Fulham. Obviously, we know that Man United are potentially, they're going to be a completely different beast than what we've seen over the last year. I think one of the things that is a slight advantage to us is how well our squad knows each other. We do moan about the fact we haven't signed anyone this summer, but I think all of us have agreed at some point during this pre-season that we're quite happy with our starting 11. It's the sort of the cover and the players that come in during games that we are a bit uneasy about. AJ, going forward, we like Muniz, we like obviously Raul, and they both offer completely different things going forward. But how do we break down United on Sunday? Have we got to look at just being completely counter-attacking, or do we look at it like we did against them in the FA Cup last year, where we really took the ball by the horns, took the game to them, and almost sort of like surprised them a little bit? What do you think? What do we do in this game to sort of prove ourselves?
It's a tough one, because if you look at the way they came up against Arsenal, if they do that against us, it will be like they're the home side. We will have that little amount of the ball, because they were tremendous. And Arsenal are a team that are known for keeping the ball, if not one of the best in the league at doing it outside of Man City. So it's a real testament to how far they've come over the course of the summer, assuming they can keep that up. Whether or not they come with that same game plan, whether or not they come expecting us to try and hold on to the ball and they be a little bit more withdrawn, I'm really, really not sure. It's anyone's game, this, and it's really tough to tell how we're going to plan to play against them. But I think the likelihood is they'll come with the same sort of mentality, because their manager's a sort of one system manager, and that will force us into a counter-attacking style of play, potentially even with less than 25% of the ball for periods of the game. And I think that's going to be incredibly important, that we stay defensively sound. So it's difficult to determine. I don't think it'll be like the cup game. I think we took advantage of them being in a really bad spell and took the game to them, because they were still trying to work out the basics of their system at that point. But if we do take the game to them, it's not their defence I'm concerned about. It'd actually be them breaking on the counter, because the likes of Cunha and Wemu, even Bruno Fernandes or a couple of other of their key players, Mainu, will tear us to shreds given the opportunity, and our constant issues of making silly mistakes in dangerous areas. So I am concerned, especially for that left back slot. If we do stick with a back four, maybe Castagna goes in there to be a more solid defensive option, and Bassi goes back to his traditional position. I'm really not sure.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. Actually, I quite like the idea of maybe swapping them over in this game, because I think that we know we're going to have to be really resolute, especially down the middle. We're going to have to be really, really strong. One of the things we do know United like to do is put the ball in the box, and they have not their best attacking player putting the ball in the box is actually Harry Maguire, but you have to be really, really careful with that, especially from set pieces. I watched their game against Arsenal on Sunday, and I was actually really impressed with the way that Man United played. I know the result wasn't a positive one for them, but Arsenal sort of got away with one mistake from a goalkeeper, and then Man United having to push so much that they almost couldn't play their natural game. And to that point, that could be a blueprint for us on Sunday. We can get an early goal, get an early lead, and then the pressure's on United. That may well sort of run into our hands a little bit because they're going to have to push and they're going to have to press. And one of the good things about having a squad that's still relatively new and trying to impress themselves at a team like Man United is that they may well overplay, and the players that were there from last year may well have a feeling of here we go again, and that may work in our favour. But either way, Man United are Man United. They're a very good team, and barring their goalkeeping positions where I think they're weak, they've got an impressive squad. There's no messing around with that. But we would have said that last year, even during their troubles, they had an impressive squad. They should have been way above where it was. Carl, going into this one, we've seen that their goalkeeper's a little bit fragile. Should we do something that Fulham don't do enough, and that's be a bit more shoot on sight? Because we know we have the ability to score goals from distance. Harry Wilson proves it all the time. But should we be a bit more, stop trying to score the perfect goal and just maybe put a few balls in towards their keeper, especially early on?
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there. They are very vulnerable with the keeper. I don't like the fact that we don't put enough balls in the box. And on Sunday, I think we should do that because, like I say, the keeper's very vulnerable. We've got, if Raul, well, even Muniz as well, if he starts, he's good in the air. If we shoot from outside the box as well, there's always a chance that he'll fumble it. But even on corners and free kicks, that is probably where we're going to get our most joy of scoring a goal on Sunday, I think, because their back four I'm not worried about. Their front six is a force. So if we start playing 1-2s around the box with Leno and Anderson and stuff, they're going to press. It's not, excuse my French, it's not Rashford or anyone like that. They've got Mbeumo, they've got Kuna, and even Mason Mount now. Like I've seen games where he's been pressing. So we can't be making mistakes around the back. We can't be passing it around the back. Let's just go back to route one, lump it up. Muniz or Raul, whoever's up there, flick it on, and just, like I say, shoot on sight, keep us vulnerable, so we will get enough chances.
Yeah, that being said, Matt, Josh King on Sunday.
Yep.
How big of a game is he going to need to have? How big of a player is he potentially for us? Because he's that unknown, but also we saw it last week against Brighton. He's a very good link player. He links a lot of our play very well for such a young man. Yeah. How big could Sunday's game be for him?
Absolutely massive. I reckon, right, if we were to play him slightly higher, slightly more as of a false nine than as a cam, he would absolutely tear the team apart. They'd end up not knowing what to do, wouldn't be able to handle him, especially with those diagonal balls across the wings. And then it's a 1-2 goal. Literally, that's all it needs to be. If he has a bit more of an attacking presence, less of a standoffish, it could absolutely kill the game, I reckon.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, his link-up play against Brighton on the weekend was brilliant. I've seen at least 5 or 6 videos from Brighton fans over the weeks since their game, completely just caught unawares of just how good he is. We've all known how good Josh King is. We've all been waiting for this breakout. We will be waiting to see him get minutes, and I think he's going to get a real big chance. And I imagine him playing on Sunday, no doubt. AJ, we spoke an awful lot last year, especially at the end of the season, about the Lukic-Berg pivot and that double pivot and having to be sort of really mobile but really resolute down the middle. Is that going to work in this game? Do we maybe need to think about changing that slightly to sort of maybe bring ESR into the game a bit more? And we know that Marco's desperate to try and find a way that he can get King and ESR playing together. I'm really just trying to work out how this midfield 3-4 in the centre of the pitch is going to work for us going forward. Not just in this game, but as a general.
Yeah, I'll answer first in this game and then in general. In this game, it's not going to happen. You like if he starts King and ESR, we know what ESR's work rate is like, and this is not the game to be trying to play that style of football. I think flooding the midfield is going to be important because Manchester United naturally only play with two central midfielders. So if we can win the ball in midfield and control the ball in midfield, we can win a lot of the game. Or at least a lot of the control of the game, but it's definitely not a game where you want ESR's work rate. So I think it will still be Lukic and Berge, along with potentially King, potentially Andreas. I say that because Andreas loves a game against his old clubs and he loves a big game fixture. We finally have the opportunity now that King has broken out to be like, listen, Andreas, we're not going to play you against Brighton because we know you don't want to and you can't be bothered. Do you want to play against Manchester United? Because we know we'll get a performance out of you. And I'm okay with that, to be honest. If Andreas becomes a bit part player that's in the squad only for big games because those are the ones he can get himself motivated for, cool. Hang around. I'm fine with that. Otherwise, he's in the shop window, whatever. But what I think will be important between Lukic and Berge is that they need to swap a little bit more and Lukic needs to sit in that 6 role a bit. Berge, as good and strong as he is, doesn't have the sort of tenacity of Lukic, of Stefan Johansson, of Paulinho in just hacking someone down if they're getting into too dangerous of an area. We saw that last week against Brighton. He kept trying to catch up with someone when realistically he could have taken them out, taken the yellow card 10, 15 yards earlier and just given them a free kick instead of giving away a silly penalty. And we could have potentially gone on to win that game. He's much more of a controlling midfielder than he is a ball-winning midfielder, and we're still lacking that ball winner. But if I had to pick one of the two to be a ball winner, it's Lukic. He's much more aggressive in trying to win the ball, and because of his smaller stature, he'll get away with a lot less yellow cards and a lot more aggressive tackles because they'll see it as the smaller player trying to win the ball. With that said, it doesn't mean I want Lukic that far back up the pitch, that far back on the pitch all the time. So I think they really need to learn when to rotate. I think Berge sitting deeper when we're in control of the ball, and Lukic sitting deeper when we're out of control of the ball would work a lot better.
I think that's a fair shout. I also mentioned about going forward and looking at that. We know that Marco is keen to sort of find a way of having Josh King and ESR on the pitch at the same time. Ignore this United game. Ignore this game in particular, but going forward, do we imagine there's going to be a way that we're going to be able to get those two players on the pitch at the same time without sacrificing, Lukic Berg, or is one of those players probably going to having to be sacrificed in order to be more progressive going forward? Because I'm just wondering about, that we look at the Bristol game coming up during the week. That may be a game where we go, we're not going to play two in central midfield, we're going to play one, and then have two slightly further, advanced players. Do you think that would work for us?
Oh, absolutely in that game, but that game's a cup fixture, so I expect us to be dominant on the ball anyway, and we'll likely see him testing that sort of King ESR situation. It might be that ESR plays on the left. He's done that before. It might be that King plays as sort of a shadow striker. It could be like we saw at the beginning of last season when he was trying to get Andreas and ESR in the team together as floating eights, where one of them occupies the 10 spot at any given time. In games where we can control the ball comfortably and we're okay with Berge sitting in that hole on his own, we will see the likes of King and ESR doing what we saw from Marco at the beginning of last season with ESR and Andreas. We cannot, and we probably will not, do it in these big games like against Manchester United, against Arsenal, against Chelsea, Liverpool, or any significant team that's going to control a lot of the ball. So it's going to be a tough one. but I think we will definitely see it because Marco favours this 4-3-3 situation, and we're seeing a resurgence of the number 10 role in modern football. Even the likes of Pep Guardiola's going back to having natural number 10s. And as much as Marco doesn't typically run a 4-2-3-1, as much as Sky and all of the major teams seem to think we do, he plays a natural 4-3-3. He does always have someone that can fit into that 10 role, normally off the ball as opposed to on it, but it will be interesting to see how he manages having 2 10s in the team at the same time, especially 2 10s that aren't necessarily the best defensively, although King has got a significantly better work rate.
I think ultimately this is this plan B we've all been moaning about for so long, isn't it? This is this, not going into every game exactly with the same cut and paste recipe, no matter who we're playing against, and the ability to change up depending on our opponent. Because it's frustrating that we would look to go into a game against Man United the same way we looked to go in a game against Burnley. And last year that would have been the case because we only seem to play one way. So it's really nice to see that at least there's talk at the moment of there being some progressive change in the sense of looking at who we're playing and changing up our formation because of our opponent, not having to do it mid-game because something's not working, and actually being proactive for once. So that it's good. It's good to see, and I fully agree with everything you just said. So that there's no arguments for me. Let's finish this match preview the same way we've finished all of our match previews. I want a player to watch from both teams, please, and a scoreline prediction from everyone. Kyle, I'll start with you, mate. Give us a player to watch from both teams and a scoreline prediction, please.
Well, after his goal on Saturday and the passion that he showed after it, my player to watch is Muniz. I think he's got a lot of fans to sort of win over after the whole transfer palaver, etc. So yeah, my player to watch is Muniz, and the score, I don't know. Both teams concede goals, and both teams can score goals. So I'm going to go 2-2.
Have you got a United player to watch out for?
Mason Mount.
No,
yeah, I think that he's had a great pre-season, and I think he'll start as well. Definitely. So Mason Mount.
Yeah, that's been a fair shout, mate. AJ, how about yourself, mate? Player to watch from both teams in the scoreline prediction?
Player to watch for Fulham. I think it's going to be crucial whoever takes up that left back spot against the likes of Manchester United with their very aggressive style of play with wing backs and with high 10s / left and right forwards. So whoever takes up that left back role, I have a sneaking suspicion it'll be Castagna. So eyes on Castagna if that's the case. For Manchester United, I'm going to agree with Mason Mount, but for very different reasons. As much as he has had a decent pre-season, he's dog shit. And I think he's someone to watch because dog shit players always do exceptionally well against Fulham. That's just the way life goes. As for a score prediction, unfortunately, I'm going to say it's 3-1 Manchester United.
Yeah, no, I think I understand your reason, but to be fair, we still have, especially the scoreline, we still have frustrations about our transfer window alone, let alone, potentially who the opponents are. It's fair.
When we're not as defensively sound as Arsenal are, and if we face 22 shots on target, there's no way we don't concede at least 22 shots.
Yeah. But then again, I think United are not strong at the back either, are they? So if we get shots off against them,
that's where I have more faith in Manchester United's recent purchases to their forward line compared to ours. As much as I love Muniz and Wilson can bag from time to time, Iwobi is not going to produce that many goals. King's yet to find goal-scoring form in the Premier League, and then we don't expect many goals from Lukic or Berge. So it's like realistically, where are our goals going to come from? Especially when we continue to try and score the perfect goal instead of just taking shots like Manchester United are willing to do. We had two shots on target all of the game against Brighton, and we're going to see less of the ball in this match. So,
yeah, I think you're right, mate. I think you're right, Matt. How about yourself, mate? Player to watch from both teams and a scoreline prediction, please.
Player to watch is between Adama Traore and Josh King, solely because I don't know if Adama's going to be starting this one. For United, it's Benjamin Sesko. Just, I don't know how he's going to fare against our defence. I don't know, because it's quite a brutal, strong defence. I don't think he'll be as nimble with a constant pace and speed on him. Scoreline prediction, I'm going 2-1 Fulham, solely because, as a manager's perspective, right, there's too much newness in that United team. There's too much for error, too much room for error with all the new players. They might not link up as well as we do. And I just think that all it takes is 2 slip-ups from them. Bad pass, bad movement. That's it. Game to go on.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair shout. We saw it on Saturday with Brighton. You know, Josh King was alive to an awful lot of mistakes that their defence made, especially with clearing the ball out. So, you know, it's not the end of it's not beyond madness to think that, you know, the freshness in the Man United team could be a cause of mistakes. You know, and we do know that's one of the advantages we have about the fact we've not signed anyone is everyone is very familiar with everyone's game, but you know, the quality may be not quite as high as we want at the moment. For me, players to watch, I'm actually going to go for both goalkeepers. I think for me, Bernd Leno could be very important in this game. We know when you play against teams like Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, and they come to the Cottage, if you're going to get a result, you need your keeper to be on top form. Leno has games every now and then where he makes mistakes where it's usually a shot from distance where he's not quite alert to what's going on, and then he's having to react to it a bit late. You know I coined the phrase about him having Popadomus last year because some of the goals he conceded were really frustrating and really annoying. But he also had games where he was absolutely superb. And he was, you know, the reason why we probably got most of the wins we got last season, because he was spot on. And if we're going to get anything out of this game on Sunday, he's going to have to be spot on, especially with what effectively is, you know, a front 6 that are extremely impressive for Man United, but a front 4 that are really trying to prove themselves at the moment. So he's going to have to be on it. And then for United, you know, we don't know what goalkeeper's going to start for them on Sunday. We don't know if it's going to be Bayindir or it's going to be Onana. I highly doubt it's going to be Tom Heaton, but you know, either of those two, they're prone to make mistakes, and we've seen them make mistakes. And it's the same thing. If they have spot on games, they're going to really struggle to score. But if they have games that we know that they can have, and they make mistakes and they struggle, we could be in with a chance, especially if Josh King's on the pitch and willing to jump on things and is alert to it, you know. And this, as AJ said earlier on, could actually be an ideal game to have Andreas Pereira, who's not afraid to step up to United players when it comes into games. We saw it last year, where he's not scared to be facing up against United players, where there may be a little bit of trepidation from Josh King because, you know, he's still fresh and he's still new, and they are still Man United. So, you know, we don't know. Scoreline for me, I'm going to say 3-1, but I don't know which way around. I'm going to be positive and say 3-1 Fulham because I want to be positive. But I'm not. It could go either way for me. But I do think we will see a very good game of football on Sunday. I think it's going to be two, you know, almost evenly matched teams in the sense of way they do things. You know how Marco Silva is. We also know that we have a referee in this game who last time he took charge of a game between Fulham and Man United was the worst game of football any of us will ever talk about and still shudder and have nightmares about. That massacre at Old
Have they
Trafford.
really
Yeah,
put him back in? Have they really put him back on this game again?
Yeah. Yes, they have. So expect an awful lot on Sunday. He's going to have a world-class game as a referee. Otherwise, he makes one mistake, he'll get eaten alive by both sets of fans, because I don't think anyone's really that happy to see him in charge of this game. But
excuse me while I go place a bet on overcards.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah. A penalty in the first 10 minutes. £10 on it right now.
Yeah. Marco to get
Other than
sent
that,
off.
lads. Yeah, exactly. Other than that, lads, thanks very much for joining me on this match preview. We will be back on Tuesday with our match review of this game, and we will also have our preview of the Bristol game out the same day as well, as there's a quick turnaround between those two matches, and we'll be probably recording them both at the same time. But other than that, hope you all have a good weekend. Hope Fulham make our weekends. We'll see. I'll see you guys next week for the review, and we'll see you soon. Come on, you Whites.
Cool.